No, I don't have it here. Anyway, this is a fresh, completely fresh earthquake here in Ireland. So this one here. Okay. Now let me show you something. What is the point of my talking tonight? So this here is the astronomical program, and this is the North Pole. Here is the moon. And this is the, just a moment, let me see. This here is ex-Yugoslavia. I mean, this red circle here that you see, this is the Europe. Okay, this is the circle that's surrounding Europe. This under here it's Africa, Northern Africa, etc., etc. Even that part here, it's almost it's Africa here, but I cannot make perfect circle. So this little red circle here, this is the Black Sea in the between the Turkey and Ukraine, okay, or Georgia, if you wish. So here, this is the so-called North Pole. Okay, you can see that. This, in effect, it looks like a map of the flat Earth. So I was wondering if I turn on the comets here, just to show here are the comets. I will go here. I will uh, blow up England and Ireland and Scotland, which is here where it's the comet Ellen here, and I will go now with the comets in a speed of 3,000. And now watch what is going to happen. So as you can see, comets are going in a circle. I will show you that this is the England here and Scotland and Great Britain, United Kingdom. Look at how the comets are passing by that, and why these earthquakes are so low. Why they are? Look at where the Ellen is passing here. Just I will stop this. Look at the Ellen, exactly on the south part of the England, which I'm just showing you here. So this earthquake here are covered all by the comet Ellen. This is where the Bergman is, okay, London Bergman, below the Manchester, okay. So this part here is affected by the comet Ellen. As you can see, this is very, very fresh earthquake. So we will go back to the. This is comet Ellen, which is, if you wish, I can go like this and make the local path and go forward, and you will see which part of the England is affected by the comet Ellen. Comet Neowise and comet Atlas Q3. This is all what is passing over the Scotland and Borisov. So the same comet which are affecting Croatia and ex-Yugoslavia, it's affecting here, but they are not so effective when they are here. So this is the comet Ellen. Okay, I will stop here now. This is the full circle. This is the full local movement of comet Ellen above the. So I can make something like this. Just a moment to remove this from here and to show you the bigger map, so you can see what I'm showing here. And just a moment. Display 2 or like this, okay, and now watch this. So this is the comet Ellen. As you can see, this is the Bristol, London, Liverpool, okay. So this is where and Limerick, Cork. So this part of the local movement of the comet Ellen is affecting south of the England. And if we go back to the display 1, then you can see that this is the south of the England, and south of the England is affected by the comet Ellen. So I was wondering why there is no any earthquake visible on the earthquake list from United Kingdom and from Ireland. How come that there is no any earthquake over there? So something crossed my mind, and I want to share this with you. And please be open-minded. Don't think globally now. because we're going to put this situation in a completely different form and different presentation. So let me show you what I mean. Share the screen. So this is the, let's say, flat earth. Let's say that we are all on one platform, and all this, just a moment, do I have any flat earth map here? Just a moment to see. No, I don't, but flat earth map, it's showing something like this. Okay, something like this. Let me show you how it looks, the flat earth. So the position of the England, it's like this. Okay, this is the north. This is in a circle. It's a North Pole, and this here is England. Here, yeah, I will squeeze more. So this here is England, and Scotland, and I mean Great Britain, United Kingdom, whatsoever. Okay, so this part here is the England or United Kingdom. Now, if you watch where is the England on the globe, so-called globe, just a moment. England, it's here, okay? So we can turn this like this. So this is London here. I will blow this up for you. This is the Dublin and London. So if we rotate the globe on the other side, we will come to the very interesting position. Look at this here. So Dublin, London, and it's covering this part of the. Just a moment to see the grid, because I didn't. Just a moment to see the grid like this. Okay. My mistake. Just a moment to correct the to show you where is the, when you are comparing the position of the England with some very interesting position on the other side of the so-called globe here. Let's go rotate this. So this is coming exactly here in California, which is very trusty and shaky ground here. This so this is on the same parallel. I mean more north. Just a moment. I need to. So this is the England here, and this one is this meridian here. It's come out here on the Oregon, somewhere out from the Oregon, and also Oregon is very, very shaky ground here. Washington, Oregon, and here up there it's Alaska, and etc. etc. So this is not. It's on the same. It's on the same. How do you say? On the same. If you, how can I say this? Okay, now let me put it that way. So it's on the same. If we have dome above, and we have a dome, this is not in a question, and this is a so-called end of the dome here, it's a South Pole, and in the middle it's a North Pole. So if we put now England here, let me just, okay, we can make like this. So this is England here. So now we have to take asymmetrical position of the England will be according to the North Pole on the other side somewhere here. Okay, I think that I will correct this if I. Okay, let's okay. So if we compare the position of the England and how high is toward the dome. Just a moment. Wrong. This one here. So if we are measuring this here and this here, this should be the same altitude. You know what I mean? If we presume that this is the dome above the flat Earth. So the altitude, so if the comets are flying here, I was wondering, is it possible that these comets which are flying here are in effect not so effective on that position here because of the altitude where they are passing by? because when these comets are coming down here, just a moment, here, down here in Greece, after rotating, let's go make like this, you see, okay, it's going here, this is the England, rotating, descending, and this is the U-turn, you see, look at the U-turn here. And then they are coming toward the Turkey and Greece here, and another group of comets will be even more frequently passing these areas. Here it is. Sometimes this is changing. So I just want to show you how these comets are moving above the Earth, or if you wish, a flat Earth. So they are moving in a circle. So each one of here, I can show you this, how they are covering certain area. This is very important. For example, I will just mark two of them and go 3,000, and you will see how they are going in the circle on a certain area, covering the certain area of the world. Not all the world. They are not going around the world, not around the sun or whatsoever. They are probably under the sun, and they are going in the circle and covering certain area in a certain moment. Now, when this comet come in a certain distance from the epicenter, this comet is resonating non-stop, because it's just like airplane. You know, when the airplane it's flying, you got constant working on the motors. So when the comets are flying, because of their mass and speed, they also pushing the air and making a certain noise in the sky, which are very, very deep, and they are between 27 and 30 hertz. Maybe higher, maybe even lower, which makes a stronger and or weaker earthquake. So when the comet comes here, let me show you this again, in a certain area of this circle, and we got the ground zero down on the ground where we are living, on the certain distance, which is in Tesla sequence, angular separation between the comet and the epicenter may cause that you hear that spreading of these waves got enough space to travel toward the ground and hit the ground and produce an earthquake. If this dome here, which I'm showing you here, it's lower than this one here, or for example, we have more effective earthquake when the comet is coming on the lower part of the, like here. Okay, no, just a moment. I'm sorry, wrong arrow. Like this. So when comet is coming here, it's more destructible or effective than when it's coming here, because of the how do you say, the altitude of the dome, which is, and don't forget, they're passing close to the dome, and or certain distance from the dome may cause the same effect as you put the speaker in your room in an open space and in a closed space in some room. It will be the bass, the frequency of the bass will spread completely differently. So my thought was, to make me finalize the thought here, my opinion about this, that earthquakes in the United Kingdom and Ireland are not that strong, are not that effective, only from very rare from time to time, which depends on the comet that maybe is on the lower position that resonates in that moment, because the position of the dome above the Great Britain, it's not that effective for this resonant sound that come from the comet. So there is less space or more space, you know what I mean? So it's like something like echo. You know what I mean? So if you are in a large hall and you said ah, you would say ah ah ah. You know, you get echo. When you are in a small room, there is no echo. So the voice is traveling much more far when it's open space somewhere in the mountain. You can hear the echo. You cannot hear the echo uh, in your living room. Maybe it's very short. But if you go get in the hall of the big house and you speak loud, this is going to produce the echo inside the. Why? Because there is more space, and there is a place for spreading this frequency, which then may reach the ground and make the earthquake. So uh, I always told you that there are a lot of the comets passing over the California, and covering California with the earthquake because of large number of the comets, which I can show you here. I show you that many times, but it's not a problem to show you this. So let's go here. So this is United States. Just a moment. Where is it? It's here. Like this. So the United States, it's where? It's here. No, just a moment. I'm sorry. This is United States. So this upper circle, I'm sorry. Let me show you the screen. This upper circle, it's in North America. This lower circle, it's in South America. So look at now how many comets are passing over California and over the United States. Look at it here. Look at how many are going toward the California. Okay, large number, all of the comets passing over the California. This is absolutely impossible to calculate manually, especially manually, any of the earthquake that may happen over California because of the large number of the comets and large number of possibility. So what is the point here also in California? As you can see, we have a lot of small earthquake in Los Angeles area, California, Southern California, Northern California, 2.5. I don't know. Many of them come in one moment, and they are very, very effective. But a lot of small magnitude earthquake. So as you can see, almost the same position of the England. It's California is just a bit lower, okay, but it's more on the toward the. Let me show you. It's more toward the edge of this dome. You understand what I'm talking about? So this is, and this make this. So for example, California is somewhere here. As you can see, this is lower than this here or than this here. So probably when this comes to the closer part of the dome, this is probably more effective, or more pressure, or I don't know. This is very difficult to discuss because we don't know nothing about what is above us. This is just an how do you say which I just calculate inside what I'm saying. So I believe that number of the earthquake depends on how high is the dome above the place where these comets are passing by. This resonating independent of how close is the dome toward the ground. So if they are moving in a circle. Let me show you this one more time here because it's I cannot explain. So here, watch. When they are moving in a circle like this, let's go here. You can see they are covering from the highest part, where is the North Pole, to the part which is on a much lower position, and then. Where is the strongest earthquake? Exactly on this area here, people. Middle East, Japan, and all this area, Philippines, and everything what is in the line of this certain altitude toward the dome. Very interesting, and I don't know what kind of how do you say what kind
Right. Notice to agent is notice to principal, and notice to principal is notice to agent. For those powers that be, and they are computer systems. This is notification of earthquakes in Great Britain and Ireland. Yeah. Against a green YouTube channel. I would suggest anyone to go and check out the podcast and play it back. So let's see if that's in frame as the hacking attempts constantly go. The camera, this phone's being hacked. That is YouTube channel, and of course it's now the date UK time just gone by past midnight, and now it would be Tuesday the 28th of the night 2021. The reason why there's certain powers that be are targeting me and many others like me on top for years and years and years, ever since I moved here. But I didn't know what I know now about this subject today. I was a sky watcher to start with. Well, not that long after I moved in here. I don't know how I suddenly come across the subject, but I was a sky watcher and realised that the sun was a sun stimulator. And then a lot of other subjects on top. And then I started getting the unlawful targeting, discreditation by a certain male neighbour. Stuart, hello, flat 2, East UK. The one who sold his soul for the demonic side of life, shall we say. And he is nothing but a demonic nature. I witnessed years ago his abuse to females. Yeah. And he was a lorry driver at the time. I had no idea when I moved here he lived opposite me, and he's nothing but harassed my former carers, constantly lied about me, and then to the whole neighbourhood. And then I had no clue what the information over the period of time now I'm waking up to, and more importantly, is the MK Ultra program. Never ended. I mean, goodness me, that started before before I was born. Hereditary, my mother's side. I mean, as a kid. So what they do with mind, the brain, they split a dissociation so you can cope with trauma in your life. And then over the years, despite everything, it's all been one thing after another, and it's not bad luck. And anyway, when you eventually find out there is such a thing as human individuals, demonic entities and souls of men and women, and the physical nature, and you witness things firsthand over the years, and you're just a beacon then, because you haven't sold out your soul, and that's what the world's about right now, Luciferian all over. I mean, in everything. There is a war, a spiritual war going on in a magnitude, and this is where Lord Joshua, spiritual, my creator, the creator, whatever you want to title. My upbringing wasn't, my late mum thought it was to church, but I know now different. Anyway, it's 100%. I am not an angel, but I would never sell out. So, of course, because what I know, the occult, the deep, dark occult it does exist, especially around me and around here. I've used a certain individual to lie, scheme, you name it, doing it. And he needs to be got rid of. He needs to be had all his so-called assets seized, and to investigate it for fraud, for what I know about him and others connected and what they do to a certain age group over the years, and still allegedly certain individuals are involved. Worldwide, in the bigger picture, others are doing what they can in the military sense to rescue those involved, taken away. They're making me an example because I just stumbled across information and share it lawfully and factually. So they have to trigger. In my situation, again, it's housing, and they've set me out to be an excuse, to be an example. They want to create fear, like they did in 2017, and to date, still do. They create deliberate setups. I mean, the whole shebang, targetjustice.com, Richard Lighthouse, I think it's .com. There's books, there's websites, there's blogs about the gang stalking, which is unlawful. That's harassment. The breaking into your home, unlocking your, picking your doors. Then you've got the brain interface. Eventually, there's a gentleman who's still out there traveling around called Brian Chew, an American whistleblower, who knows about the brain interface linked up to the supercomputer AI. And then we've got the Internet of Things. Now, of course, on top, the whole world has changed. I mean, so many people get information out on other platforms. So these housing companies using every single excuse to make it look legit. That there's an offer of repair, there's a service due, or there'll be letters sent, or an email sent to imply there's a job. Well, hold on. The implied email yesterday's date now, that job was completed over 5 years ago. And they're drumming up and implied it's required. End of last year when I had a 5-yearly LEL, I think it's called, electrical 5-yearly safety check done in my electrics, my private dwelling, completed. There was no mention of any job of such nature required, any jobs, any further remedy work at all. So it takes 2 weeks for an agent to dig up some emails. They're keeping a log of emails, so am I, paper trail, so to speak. And I just, on the subject of what I'm just re-listening to the second part of Against the Grain on YouTube channel, a gentleman in Croatia who has mathematical models, and he's witnessing what is going to affect Earth as well as England, as certain parts of England. I've already known about this for a while. The pole shift effects is going to, those living by the coasts of rivers are going to be flooded out, and the dust fallout from the comets, the wormwood, it is real, Planet X. I mean, scriptures, King James Bible version, Revelations talks about it. What I'm witnessing firsthand and what I'm absolutely seeing firsthand on Weather Camps again today, I'm seeing more than one sun exposure, and the sun rays. All of this is really just proves for one single point that life on Earth physically is over, and is about the soul. The demonic Luciferian demons are after the souls of men, women, children. Okay, and if people don't know what I mean, just go and do your own research. And you're not taking my soul. Oh yeah, physically what they're doing, I'm still bloody defending my lawful God-given rights. Don't you worry about that. But no. I'm no harm to nobody. If anything happens to me in my physical existence, it's not by me at all. I know who's behind all this. They want to kill me physically off by injecting me. Oh yeah, by force. I am not consenting to any offer by force. Do you get me, you agents of the dark occultists? You don't intimidate me, because I have the protection of my Lord, my Heavenly Father, Joshua, Jesus Christ, who died on the cross for the humanity's sins, so we can live and be born in Christ. I am not scripture knowledgeable 100%, but I do remember a lot. And it is about forgiveness. That is a very hardest thing for anyone to do. But the time is short. If you can't be peace with oneself, and even though enemies, even the dark occult is enemies, because he was first targeted on this earth all those centuries ago, so long ago now. He died on the cross. So we're persecuted, and I am so heavily in every aspect you can think of. But you see, this is the physical existence, is a testing ground, how one responds. And I'm not an individual that will lash out to nobody. And I'm always respectful. I was raised that way. But I'm not a walkover at all. So for knowledge, for anyone out there who has knowledge of the real agendas, for the bigger picture, not just about me or in England, but the bigger picture. This is why they model, they've gone into the laptop, they've damaged it, they remodeled it like the phone, and it's no longer, these smart devices are not for convenience, they're like big, behind the scenes of software. Anybody out there goes back to analog phone, I have to do that myself because I'm getting rid of these bloody smartphones. I do not need, well, it's not that many, but one I didn't keep one. That's already had. So I'm not in a position to actually just pack up and leave. What the hell should I? 10 years. Everything needs to be done lawfully and honourably. And I have a lawful right to counter-sue for damages, for the psychological damage and threats to my life and my safety since 2017. Powers that be know who they are, still haven't done all this. And damages for the hacking into non-consensually. There is excellent documents and evidence out there. The war is on the mind. Whoever consented for the world to create such technology, to use the hive mind technology, supercomputers, all of this sounds so sci-fi, and it's gone beyond a joke. You don't need transitioning of the get rid of the human body and just have a consciousness of the brain to upload to supercomputer and have an avatar as a body so you can chop and change. And then have transhumanism so you can have a link up to AI, man to machine. Yeah. So people out there are humanist and they want to live forever. Well, it's up to you. Don't drag me into your schemes. in your plans. You see, the way the powers that be do it in England, I know about it, they're all corporations. And they have to lie about your personal life, about your ability to function and well, excuse me, if the world didn't go into lockdown, especially in England in 2020, I would have my things moved into storage safely by now. You know, I'd have found a way that a company, its agents, if they want to make any financial income out of me, they would have assisted, you know. I would have found somehow to box my belongings up in storage, but no, with the NK Ultra triggers, they always keep me bogged down with paperwork, emails, paperwork, you know, on top of everything else. So when it's right under your nose, the drug dealing and all the demonic stuff that's going on and is all witnessed, and when you know the housing company allegedly its agents enrolled, they gut out the new flats that people move out and the plants, police informers mainly, their flats are all gutted out, brand new everything, can't get nothing done. Nothing. And even back in 2013 when there should have been an upgrade to the kitchen, it was never ever offered to the former maintenance contracted company agents. He said, "Oh, I didn't know you're disabled in a wheelchair." There was no letter follow-up. There was no future plan of asset management planning the future of this area, such like that, ever since. So you could say, who's in breach of contract? Not I. The agents, the CEO, the man, the board of directors responsible for asset management of the flats, especially when I went. Only I'm being treated this way in this area. Yeah? Singled out. For what? Yeah. They don't touch number one. They don't touch, obviously, the setups. When I first moved in, had my two cats. That was, I didn't know all these years ago. Everything since I moved in, plus everything, the trauma-wise, I got displaced from my flat before, where care companies went bust. That was a major setup. I didn't know at the time. Displacements where I was. I had to fight my way to lawfully get home. And powers that be didn't like that, did they? They wanted me to keep me in the care system because in the future, all this now, what was taking place in the world is happening. So if I was in that system, because every place I ever looked at before this place, with like called sheltered housing, the bungalows weren't big enough for my medical equipment. I'd never got the offer of a specialist individual to come visit me. My late mum used to try her best to come with me. So this flat was never ever lawfully properly done in the wet room as it should be. And the video of that hotel room of a wet room is what should be like similar layout, perhaps not as big, but properly that's what it's meant to be like. I finally saw what it's meant to be like. And if I'd known, because I wasn't physically disabled when I moved in, so it's only when I went over that I needed all this stuff. And no, they didn't want me here. The lady before me, she was in a mobility scooter herself, and the layout, everything, it hasn't been. Everything I tried to relook at, all these assessments years ago, I looked into, try to be offered correct this time round. A bungalow that's big enough for me and my equipment, and everything I looked at was one bedroom, and it had to have facilities around the location because of the bad weather or snow, easy access to shops, etc., etc., as well as the actual place. The only one that looked reasonable, it turns out it was the paths and everything nearby was uneven, and in the bad weather I would get in a really difficulty with snowing weather. So the last offer back in 2000, I think it was 12, around about that year, was I had to turn down. So all these years on, I didn't have a wet room the way it is now, you know. The minor little things to be put into the door frames. But I even had the assessments then, the occupation offer of assessments, and nothing was offered. Nothing was. Oh, we can't do that. It will make it difficult for you to get in and out of what the door frames. No, it was not true. You see, I know now, studied law and many subjects since like that. It wasn't about that at all. It was about moving me out of the flat because of Stuart number 2 didn't want me around. You see, I don't give a shite what people think about me, my physical existence here, because you know, you learn to get a thick skin. You learn to know that over the years, life's too short. But when he's like nobody, and suddenly he sells his mum out, and she ends up to being moved up into Cairo, up this area, and then what? She's healthy, meant to be, allegedly. It's all alleged, because there's no real evidence he's ever done all this. It's only what he's claimed. I've never seen his daughter, what she claims about. All these stories. He's always been a storyteller ever since his lorry driver. He's always made things up. And when the girls I used to help out years ago, thinking I could help them through other public services, I realised no, the drug deal, the people that control these groups of women, are connected to the Freemasons and the police. I did not know this at the time. I really just got myself in a situation where I had no clue. I learnt the hard way in scenarios and situations I won't repeat, but I got away from it all. Not first finding out from the girls what Stuart was doing to them, you know, first hand, and there he is, right opposite where I live, still to date. And that's who's behind sucking up to the housing company employees to make sure that I lose my flat and I'll end up in a controlled environment and they want to force inject me and I'll be dead. There's no beats about it. I am not scared about any of this BS at all, because I will one day, when it's naturally my time to go, not by the hands that powers that be, because that is absolutely murder. And that's what they're trying to do. Murdering me. You murder me, you stupid demons, and you think you're going to get a feed off negativity. No, I don't have no negativity. Not at all. I just know that his soul, people's souls are lost. It's not my job to save them. I leave all this hands into my Creator. I will keep surviving as long as I can, lawfully, honourably, and I will never, ever, ever harm myself or anyone else. Get that right on record, because I know you're monitoring everything. Not just me, but others around the world, actually. So, go back to the point in hand with the comets effect. I'd be amazed if they cut me off. Oh, hi, Mitzi. Can you hear me?
On the
Yeah. How are you, Mitzi? I do. cut me off, yeah.
I've been lazy, they cut me off.
Not too good though, bloody the perps at number 7. Oh, sorry, correction number 2 for that. He's doing it again, and we just heard they're trying to kill me off. How much do you have to endure? You know, this all these years, if you can hear me, because I'm using this other phone, everything's hacked, so. Yeah, I've learned all this stuff for this to be killed off, to be forced out my home, unlawfully. I've done all these documents, and documents correctly, lawfully, honourably, and they ramp up a fake repairs, fake this, fake that. It's not true. It's a program, isn't it? So when you do your paper trail, and like I've done already, it's just like I got nowhere to put anything, and I thought I saved up all year for a hotel room around the corner. They want to use my effing bloody always has been the plan. And when that video got out about that funeral director who lives 20 miles away, and about 2 different sets of families about what's really going on, don't resuscitate orders on the medical notes, and this is why by the end of 2019 I got blocked to access my medical notes. As a simple solution, if you're getting a home medication delivery offer, you could sign for your medical record same time. A simple solution, because I couldn't travel, you know, to the medical practice company, LOP, it's a company, its agents at the time, and then I got this horrendous, really abusive, and she needs to be reported. I mean, there's so much. You see, when you're in the program targeted, you report these people, nothing gets done. I've done it all. I use in England, it's called the Housing Ombudsman Services, which is a limited company. Head office is in Isle of Dogs in London, and I didn't realise till after that all my emails and evidence of all the unlawful breach of contract to repair the disabled wet room floor, I found out that all of England's social housing, quote social housing, but mainly the national well-funded ones, housing associations, or they call it in statute law, but housing companies will absolutely pay a yearly fee to make sure any, in statute law, complaints about conditions of housing gets blocked. Okay, only a few might get through if you're not targeted, if you're not on a list to be make sure you don't get any justifications or remedies. So I started learning what I know, and to hold accountable the managing directors, i.e. The chief executives, who has a responsible for everyday running of this housing company and asset management and the housing stock. And as this essential location to the subject of Agenda 2030, smart cities agenda, they don't want people to be wiping around it. Well, the technology of the brain interface, mind control, is such an extent where they got to trigger you. The last time they did this to me, falsified a report, was the date of my birthday, just gone, in 2017, and it caused me, right, by the 29th of September 2017, had a major heart attack and a stroke. The stress of it all. And those doctors last time said, if I ever get triggered, stressed, and upset like that again. Well, basically, because of the injuries I sustained when I got hit the road and I got run over, the left side of the head, and the spine and stuff, that I would not recover. Like, I've had 3 in total. I won't recover next time. Because what they like to do is trigger the heart, the palpitations, the stress levels, and get you run down so your vibrations are low, and the energy is low, so the vampires suck your, energy dry, which I am absolutely doing everything naturally I can to keep energies raised, vibrations raised. So these demons, seriously are demonic, cannot suck off my energy. So it's like a cat and mouse game while existing on this earth. And you're dealing with these very sick demonic beings who sold their souls out a long time ago. What, just because they need to keep a job themselves in case this gaslighting, targeting program happens to them and their family. Yet, on the positive note, the world is awakening to all this on a grander scale, not just this subject, but others as well. And the subject with the weather and the skies and everything else. Well, if it's the Lord our Jesus Christ, the Saviour, Joshua, if it's his rod to wipe this bloody earth and to cleanse it from the Luciferian agenda, what's taken place, like go back in the biblical years and Moses' years, the great floods, then so be it. So the innocent souls of children who are absolutely being kept underground in these cages and dumbs. And I think, I'm not too sure, there's alternative media where some ex-military are coming out and saying they're ready, secretly have gone in and tried to rescue them. It's not just kids either with the occult. I've got the document, and it's an ex-female and a husband, and the 2 kids, they managed to get out, and they did a book in 2003, details how all this is done, how the hierarchy in the occult is throughout the world, and especially in England, is run. So in this area, it is very dark, and those I've known for years are very well connected and still a part of it all. And if it wasn't trying to help my son's friend years ago, I wouldn't have known certain things. I'd never exposed anything. I'm not a whistleblower. I've never, I don't mention specifics, and I don't mention who's involved for my safety, because like the bigger picture, Edward Snowden and all those others and other people that have tried, they've ended up stitched up, haven't they, and put away, or worse. So they can't just be seen to, any day they can falsify a piece of paper to say, oh, we're concerned about her safety. She doesn't comprehend her own environment. Excuse me? This is the assumption going on. 22nd of March 2021 this year, the assumption, all these years, the housing company's been behind its agents using local public servants in adult health, social care. I thought it was legit since I ended up in hospital. But 2018, 2019, I was failed. The report confirms that the public funded company went bust, and others, not just me, were failed in maladministration. So, in a way, the only offer I've been offered is to go to be displaced again, into this care home, which was right across town, miles away from here. Well, how the hell was I going to know how and what's going on with the flat, what repairs are being done and what's not, if I'm not here or nearby to check on it, you know? And how do I know my belongings are safe and the doors, the only offer they would do? Why the hell should I need to move out, by the way? Because negotiations I was doing was I stay in my bedroom. I got all my stuff I need in here. They keep to do the wood flooring. That's all should have been done, as I was told. Re do the wood flooring. Take up the old wooden black floor and redo it. But no, they come up with this great big plan that they want to gut it all out, everything. Oh, you can't be here when we do it. I found out, long story short, the Mears Group plc company is Agents NPS Housing Limited. They're all a part of the same company. The workmen they hire, which are self-employed now, by the way, whether it's painters, carpenters, electricians, that all work together, very conveniently more so now. And they were moaning about not being able to get in at 8 o'clock in the morning to start works. But just because I'm disabled, I'll get personal care, and it's not completed at a certain time. And I made sure that I negotiated that from 12 or 12:30ish. Then I am half decent in my bed, and then I put a key safe, like a key in a key safe, with a special code that they could let themselves in to do the work. And I've got a big pair of headphones on, and my carers would bring my food and change my medical aids in my bedroom, but they would need access to the toilet to change it, And the report claim. It wasn't even a report. It wasn't even a surveyor's proper letterhead report. Just a letter on a piece of paper. Oh, this is what the work's done and this is what needs to be done. It wasn't even lawful. Ever since then, I've been requiring access to a proper detailed, that date surveyor's report. Okay. And then I took it to the public services area for requirement for X amount for disabled facilities grant for funding. Okay. And I would have gone back to housing, and I would have agents. I would have said, right, I'm hiring my own company with these funds to do it, and then I'll bill you back. I mean, control the works. Yeah. So when I approached that, I got rejected. No ground to do so. Ignored. I went to the public servants and medical side to inquire about the funds from a different pool budget that got ignored. So, do you name it, I have tried it. So when I got failed and the report came in May 2019, the puppet servant still tried to push me, knowing full well the very key people that failed me were behind offering me an appointment to meet up and to discuss decamped. They call it decamped away from my own secure tenure in my flat. They call it temporary housing. No, it isn't temporary. They're going to budge the job up, make sure that I can't live here, and that means I've got no time to get everything stored or packed up in boxes, and like I have had before at my old house. This is what the NK Ultra program does for years, and nowhere was I going for all that again. So all due respect, because of the law and what I've studied, I did my documents, I rejected the offer without dishonour and death of cause. And I never consented. I sought clarification. The company originally was offering me assessments had went bust. The public companies all over the news nationally First for England to be going to receivership, and instead they built a new unity council companies, public funded, for the Agenda 2030. The first of England is in my area, and the building is right opposite where I live. Great. So now they've merged into all these services are moved into one, merged. So there isn't any independence. There isn't any democracy at all. It's all very dictatorial, and every solution I looked at as a remedy to get to negotiations, for example, when I was in the hospital, I got harassment on the phone. I didn't even know because I couldn't speak when I was in hospital. I didn't get my speech back till about 3 days later. And it was a local, same people as an employed to date, housing agent, employee, and demanding where was I. Hold on, the flat door just been busted in by the police with a ramp, whatever they use, that thing they use. And then my daughter-in-law at the time witnessed, because I was streaming live 1 minute talking to her on Facebook, the next minute I had the heart attack. So I don't remember anything, but my daughter-in-law saw everything and called the emergency services. So I was in my bed at the time, thank God. But she saw 4 blokes. I don't know if there's one female. What the hell? Where's a female? Anyway, and doing all their checks on my heart, I found it later, long story short, piece of paper when they check your heart out, ECG, was all over the place. It was chucked in the bin in the bedroom. One of my carer friends found it and I got home from hospital. They didn't tell me that I had a heart attack there and then. I don't remember much about it, but my daughter-in-law did me an email, a statement email of what she witnessed. And thinking all these years ago that would be for a new care assessment, but no. The physical disability, long-term disability department, their agents, employees had no intention to take me on. They were set me up on a mental health card all along. All along. Mental health. Excuse me? It's physical disabilities. It's got nothing to do with mental health. Where did that come from? So all my history, my physical disabilities, what? Am I making it all up, am I? With all my physical evidence I've got. Yeah. So it was really demonic. Extremely demonic. Anyway, gotta watch the time. Did she, Mixie? Did the same to you, the practice manager? Crimes against humanity, yes, I agree. They are blood-sucking demons. Exactly, Mitzi. Mitzi Target, how are you? So we expect powers that be monitor everything I do. I mean, 24 hours a day. So these documents, these agents, right? Clinical Commission Group. You see, a sarcastic email came through. Well, this woman, she must have kids. I did it about 9:30 in the morning. I didn't see it till I had to go and get my bits earlier yesterday at the road. Because it's going to rain all week again. And that's UK for you. And I sought clarification of a new company. So anything being offered is a contract. And so where's the full disclosure? A new private company. It's a sellout. What happened to the national? What happened to people all these years paying into the National Health Service when it's been sold off and carved up to American companies who are behind with biotech in this neuromonitoring brain interface targeting program? as well. So of course, when you get put on, whoever put me on this list, goodness knows. But anyway, when you find out the whole family don't care, your own DNA family, and your adult son and daughter don't care. So, like, old crisis and petrol, yeah, okay, that's convenient, legit. On the day of my birthday, I said to my son, well, if you can get out with my granddaughter, it'd be nice to see you. But it's a bit convenient. I worked out my old diaries from 2018, right? Where was he on my birthday? That's a day, sorry, correction, in July 2018 when my mum died. So, if anything of a birthday to be around to support me if my family cared would be on my birthday. He wasn't nowhere to be seen. He was at the time so busy with his pert wife and his life and my own family. I turned out, especially my older brother, NLP, manipulated, lied to my own adult daughter. So she lied, and my son was going along with everything, and he was being manipulated by my elder brother, ex-army brother too. And unfortunately, you see, my religious upbringing, and I left at a young age, and I realised, it took the death of my mum and other people I used to do hangouts with when it used to be the old way of doing things on the internet in America and stuff, and really lovely ladies and very intuitive and artists, and yeah, it's just a whole different life, isn't it? Like, if you have a bit of your land and you don't have all the hassle, there's a disabled lady around the corner, all due respect, she's worse. She's born with cerebral palsy, I think. But she's got her bloody daughter looking after her, looking out for her. And her ex-husband bought her flat. So she don't have the problems I've got round here, And she's not on a list because she's born with it, bless her heart. She's very skillful in computers. Her daughter was telling me one time, and as soon as I've become friends with them, they get to them and put them off, don't they? Lie about you, say I don't talk to her anymore. I was very good at reading her body language, and a very smart woman. So yeah, they get to the daughter tells the mother, and those lies. Whatever's fabricated on this list about target individuals is such an extent, it really does put people off. Do you know what I mean? So therefore, you can't access removal services, for example, or you can't even hire a van. Because I said to my son, my birthday just gone, they have used him, sadly. He's mind controlled, I know that. And sadly, he's got a 4-year-old daughter he's got to think about. What would you do? Will anybody do in that situation? If you get wind that your mum or relative is being targeted, but also he's been warned off, you know, if you do that, if you support your mum or do something, we'll make sure you don't see your daughter again. We'll make it really difficult. And especially when he's already been through that process with his first son, with his first demonic bloody partner, female partner. And so you see, now I know the pattern, how he's also targeted. They don't want you to have a relationship, right? They break the families up. So they did that to my daughter. But you see, my daughter blames me for everything because of my own family, very good, lying to her about me, saying I'm the cause for everything. So I've never had a relationship with my first grandchild, a daughter, or my grandson, now he's older, nor have I ever with my third grandson. third grandchild. Now they're older. And now I'm doing my best for my granddaughter on the video link. But then their public servants are using him, my son. So on that, because I have to document everything offline as well. And I go back on my journal and I'm linking up the dates, the psychological tactics. They've trained my son up very well in neuristic programming. And I know the program can make people cough in the pain, but I've got too much recordings and evidence of what's happened, and it's sick when you have to protect yourself, and you have to do it that way, even with your own family members as well, because I know he's targeted because there's loads of stuff that's been going on, and but he's used me financially for the past 2 years, so my savings are gone, knowing the fact that I'll end up homeless and forced into this care environment without consent. I have been doing everything lawfully and honourably, and all this, I've got grounds to sue this company, its agents, for all these years of psychological damage, physical harm, breach of contract terms. But where do I go for remedy? There's nowhere. Anyone else who's not, maybe if you're in America or Israel or something, but when you're in England, Ministry of Justice, these maritime law, these agents working for them, they're Freemason, they're sworn to the bar. You have to be a Freemason, part of the club, to get anywhere within the statutory law system. We're all naturally born. Nobody has authority over anyone else. Yet they use a targeted program with their connections. And not everyone who may be a Freemason, not targeting everyone with the same brush. I'm just saying a first-hand experience. I've been there, done it, and I'm married a Freemason, so I definitely bloody well know how the dark side of it all takes over someone. And unfortunately, I met quite a few nice people over the years who were, but when it comes to the situation I'm in now, they're all negative and demonic, sold out. So I just hope and pray that for the sake of my son and his, sometimes you have to stop. And I just realised today, all those emails, my sister, back in when I was started getting set up to again, like 2016, 17, right? I copied an 18. I copied her an emails, and of course, suddenly she stopped communicating, stopped sending cards, and I knew they got to her. I knew they got to her somehow, and so at my mum's funeral in July 2018, every one of my member family there were gaslighting me. I got photos and videos I sent to a friend of mine at the time in America. She couldn't even believe what she was looking at. And she's known me for years when we used to do hangout shows together before the internet things changed. And she's known about the history of the abuse because I used to send her evidence. I said, anything happens to me is the evidence, before they started hacking me big time. And she's got a whole log of evidence of me being harmed in my home. I'm getting bruises in my home, physically harmed, verbally abused, and it's 2 females against 1. Who they're going to believe? So I did. Now, long story short, I will soon realised it's all by design, and they deliberately were damaging things in my home, doing all sorts. And I tell you, it ended up, in a long story short, I had to cut them loose in the end. I couldn't cope with no more. I used to have a female friend that used to visit with a Down syndrome female, and she had a lovely heart, good nature, and I used to share my meal. The carers would cook my meal, and they would get funny about that. At one time, they didn't cook it properly and almost died, choked on a piece of chicken. And because my friend, her son, was experiencing first aid at Scout, she knew what to do at my chest, like to cover it up, because I was going blue in the face. The carer behind me was standing behind me laughing, apparently. Yeah. So my trust started going downhill. I was dropped off a hoist, burns to my body. You just can't make it up. And long story short, I did my notice of rejection of offer with for cause. And I tried to counterclaim against the CEO of that company, the damages. Got nowhere. And I did a fee schedule, got nowhere. And instead, I built up the friendships, as I said, they're specialist trained in their work field, and they've been taken over ever since informally. And but yet then I started getting problems getting my medical equipment service on time. I got all the paperwork, confirmed the dates it should have all been done by, and that started beginning of before the lockdown. The dates were due, and then suddenly in March 2020 the lockdown happened in England. So where is the policy? What was meant to happen? Nobody communicated, because it's always usually by email. And so I would do the emails, I would do the letters, I would chase it up, and it's been like that ever since. Nobody. Instead, I'm bedbound at 8 o'clock, 10 o'clock in the morning. They'd be banging on my window. I don't know who the hell that is. How am I meant to get to the bloody door at 8 o'clock in the morning? Long story short, that was going on by this contracted national company, Mere Group Healthcare. Is it Mere Health? Mere Group is like a healthcare company that makes medical equipment and wheelchairs, and their contracts are through NHS England Limited and Primary Care. And first you have to go through all those assessments like I did years ago to be offered. It's a fight. Literally, I don't know how it is now, but at the time it's a battle to get a specialist one on a medical loan. So they were the blokes. I mean, everything was going to automated AI computer systems. I had no clue. By 20 and it started going strangely wrong 2019, and then beginning 2020, of course, they must have known there was lockdown coming, who knows. But everything that used to run smoothly started going wrong. I mean, everything. Medically, and then housing, it's 2017. So what I'd noticed, long story short again, was that this Milbrook Healthcare Limited Group, the company, its agents, especially locally, were being used to look at state of my flat and to report back, and then to raise concern about condition of my home. We've got nothing to do with them. But then they would say, oh, there's a vulnerable household, And hold on, who caused this in the first place? Home invasion, split the floor in the bloody bathroom to start with. Why? Because, hold on, March 2017, dental infection. Couldn't speak, couldn't talk like this. Neighbour walking past. I'm trying to get hold of a doctor because it really, my glands were swollen and I couldn't drink, and it was really awful. And it come out the blue. I didn't know about target individual subject then. And next thing I know, a bloody ambulance crew's turning up. And what led from that was the lies about my private life. And the flat wasn't like it is now then, the bathroom. And there's lots of ins and outs that went on, because it's public format, I ain't going to say too much. But there's lots of things they made up about my private life, which I now know was deliberate. So that period of time, March and May, they set me up with the local medical practice employee. He was very much, and two people before him, I know now they were a company, managing directors on a 60, 70 grand a year, thank you to the public purse. I had to learn all this. And so I've got all this evidence all these years on. And I did 9 documents of public servants. At the time, didn't know about targeted subject at the time. So by August 2017, or before that, just before beginning of July it was, I got apologies by the CEOs of these public funded companies that claimed they had a notification of a safeguarding. Really? About what? About my flat, about me. So long story short, that's what I was trying to get medical records for. What's been said about me on my notes? And that was being very, very, to date, it's been impossible to get hold of. And lawfully, by the way, been blocked. So where is, which I now know, the targeted program is to label people. Yeah, the labels are just labels. But that is what, without getting access to my notes, and it's a bit ironic because in 2018, that public servant that's meant to be doing the physical assessment and what service may or may not be offered in contract, she was able to get all of my medical notes just like that over to her in her office. Hold on. But when I tried 2019, 18, 19, I got blocked unlawfully, and it's still to date. So, because I need to correct things if it's not correct, because if people are trying to offer services, they don't have the up-to-date factual information, it's going to happen all over again, which it is. So, long story short, that set up in March 2017 didn't work for them, did it? So they tried something else, and I had no clue what home invasions were, targeted program were, until it all unfolded after my mum's death in 2018. And then I learned a hell of a lot very quickly by the end of the year. And by 2019 plus, here I am today. Know a lot more, sadly, because of others worldwide are going through, and the websites, evidence, documents, etc., etc. So everything I'd done in March 2021, because I was offered a certain amount of funding, 14 grand or something, for horrible thing I sustained in 2002 on my life. And that male is inside for life. But the trauma of all that, what I was just saying years ago, it causes a mind to dissociate, because the pain and trauma is too real. And this is the program what they rely on, the MK Ultra trigger. They want to trigger on that part in mind. So you're not focusing on what you need to do spiritually. And the demonic side of trying to enter into your life and trying to distract you, And triggers is what they go for in this program. So I don't have it in the way that some people do. And it's really horrific for a lot of people. And but my found out it's hereditary. They put your family into it. So my mum was involved. She didn't know she was TI, and everything she went through, I know, of course. And so, of course, the path for my brothers and sisters were to stick into the occult, fake religion, and that it really is a corporation. It's not a true Christian native church at all. and I found out it's deep rooted in Freemasonry and Masonic. Obviously I left, didn't I? So I'm the black apple and sheep, and I just knew at a young age it wasn't for me. There was something else out there. So it really did a 360 turnaround in 2018 when the spirituality, not organised religion, the faith, one's own belief systems of what's important in life, It takes epiphany sometimes to realise that all this is spiritual. It's war, a spiritual war. And 100% spot on with all this now. Because everything I ever knew and know is all come to a head again. So, anyway, I think they're hacking now. Yeah, I think they're hacking away.
It takes epiphany sometimes to realise that.
But anyway, I'm not going to move too long because I want to. When they trigger you, they want to monitor your reactions. Okay, so be aware of that. If you can write things down, get it out your system and write things down and keep a note. And be careful not to divulge too much information. But I'll listen back to this podcast in a minute. I've got to just now focus. Something late to eat this time of night, morning. I'm not going to be forced by anybody, by the way. Powers that be, you know who you are. I know a lawful rights. I know this is, I trust my creator. The creator. You don't need to label anyone, just you are. The Sabbath. Keep it holy. 10 Commandments. You see, if you want, the Book of Enoch says a lot. The fallen angel says a lot. Mixing human DNA with the fallen demonic angels, when you go into that and you investigate and you find that they live amongst us, so inside ordinary people, souls of men and women. Yeah. Crimes against humanity, I like to hack your devices, so I'm just going to switch off and listen back to the podcast. So, there's so much now going on in the world in the bigger picture, not just me. Life is life. You experience ups and downs, and this is just a part of it again. So, I like to keep you awake and not sleep because it's trauma-based, mind control, and the triggers. And let me just end it for the record. A certain offer of electrical nature in my private dwelling was first reported over, must be about 4 to 5 years ago. And then I was informed it shall not be replaced. And they just fixed the fixed fan. Okay. So you just get elbow grease on it and just grease. And yet it's never been never been upgraded. So I've got all the very detailed individuals who's involved and how and when and dates and times and stuff. So a long history. So sending an email just before the offices are meant to close, it proves that these individuals work at home and they use the internet to hire out people. They're doing the same. And what they do is use presumptions to report. Right, so we'll just put that there, just making some notes. This is a good website. Hi Tanya. Hi. Did you get my email? I'm just going to my thing. They keep hacking my phone. So bear with me. I'm just going into the chat. I think Mitzi, she's gone. How are you? How are you? Can you hear the echo? How are you? Can you hear the echo? That's the thumbs up. You see the UK NK Ultra program uses freemasons as a targeted program. It's so true. You're very tired too, yeah. They're making me tired. You know, the technology when I was out. And the frequencies are very strong. The Jews and the direct energy is very strong. It's a torture chamber. I'm sorry to hear that for you, Tanya. And they do when you keep a journal of the NK Ultra and the triggers, right? So I'm getting pop-ups. Yes, for all of us awaken, yeah. It's true. Do you ever notice you get the triggers when you're tired? Do you notice they do it more? I just start focusing at the moment. I haven't unpacked. I'm trying to keep calm and focused. It's very demonic, isn't it? When they know you're run down, and it's like the bucket's starting to run you down, and they make sure that you're going to be bloody triggered. So well, good job I had. I'm just eating fruit at the moment, so I've got some more fruit to eat. The air outside is getting very thin, and the air. So I always, when I go out, always end up with bloody cough for the next day, for a few days in my lungs. It's not really, you know what. Oh yeah, by the way, thank you for the link you sent. About assumptions. Well, I think they're going to bloody try and get away with that, aren't they, over in England? My Wi-Fi is off. I'm using my data. This is my mobile data. No, bloody did I. What can I say? They're using him, like you said before, Tanya. You know, it's clear they've got to him. And they're, you know, the technology's onto him too. He's got to think about his daughter. And I think, you know, the program must be different. It's not always the same for everyone, is it? With the gaslighting, the targeting subject, there might be protocols for different people and different scenarios and situations. It's like when you listen into nappy heads chats. How he doesn't get hacked, I do not know. But yeah, so even the mobile, it gets hacked. You know, it doesn't matter what I use. The communications is just like completely, it's a miracle. So I made sure I got a date on this phone to stream, and the other one as well to watch, you know, read the chat. And because on the app on this phone, I can read the chat, but I can't type in to respond. And they really damaged the laptop, so and they've claimed everything I own. So this is, you don't really need any physical items anyway. I mean, it's like when they damaged my survival gear I brought, but they made sure that's been dented and damaged. 2 items of it. So I always go back to spirituality. You know, with a Luciferian. You know, I can't even, you know, when I used to screen share the documents and evidence to back up what I'm saying, where people can research this information while the internet's still up, and the documents goes back to 1700s when Freemasonry was first set up, and who was behind it, what families in the bloodline. When you've got 13 bloodline families running the world, you know, throughout their descendants, you know, through genealogy. So here we are, 2020 plus. And of course, you're going through over there in Australia, the different states, I know, but it's still Tertullian, George Orwell. It's, you know, it is like the movie and the book of the pen author of George Orwell on steroids, literally. You know, and the alternative platforms of social media, what's getting out, it's just unbelievable. So also, I tie that in with what I know about earthquakes and comets and wormwood, Nibiru, and Planet X system for so many years now. So I connect the dots in not too extreme, but just enough just to observe, really. And I just wish there was a guardian angel, you know, to cleanse his earth of the demonic, the Luciferian. Not, I'm sure there's beauty, you know, there is beautiful nature around, and there are angels on earth somewhere. They are aware, you know, of what's happening on this physical existence. Earth was not built. We're in our bodies. How did we come to be born? How did our souls get chosen to be, you know, chosen to our parents, you know? And when people who are knowledgeable in perhaps scholared in ancient history and traditions and cultures, for example, and what people believed then. For example, the Mayans, the Mayan calendar, the ancient people got information out, saw a blog in a while ago something to do with Vatican, and certain historians hid away the true ancient history of certain parts of the planet, because how certain civilizations so long ago got wiped out. How was the pyramids really built? And what's the true purpose of it in Egypt, And sort of like goes over reference to the ice. How did it formulate in Antarctica, you know? And what is the real, because they're playing it off as climate change, aren't they? Of things going on in the world. There are so many ancient volcanoes now erupting in certain fault lines of Earth. And then the creation of CERN, what they're trying to do already for so long is literally summing up the demonic entities. But then when you look at the Book of Enoch and you observe some information from that too, and it talks about the fallen angels, taking on having, with women, and having hybrids really, and having, children which are demonic DNA, and the shape shifting sort of like abilities, because they're half human and half not in that regard. And then there's another rabbit hole, I suppose one could say, that we were genetically engineered from a different race, from a different solar system, and that's another theory. But I personally, from what I've experienced in life, I definitely know that it is more to do with spirituality, and the fight is like the time we're living in now. That the Luciferian and his foot soldiers are looking for souls to take with them, to take on, to possess. And there's no way I'm going to be like that. I'm not never sold out for nothing. But I have witnessed so much firsthand in so many scenarios that what's going on again with me, they're stitching me up in ways I just cannot even begin really, because it's going too far. They want me killed off. It's no joke. And then of course vaccinated in an environment I won't have any control over. And yeah, I know what that means, but I'm doing everything in honour and lawfully by the paper, by the knowledge I know. These entities, these men and women, they don't have any authority. But you see, when you're dealing with in England, a lot of these Luciferian connections and Freemasonry and the Jewets and their deep connections, and locally as well, not just nationally, and they will not stop until their agenda's pushed through completely. So they have to illuminate, get rid of people like myself, and they have to do it in such a way for my people like me, the elderly and disabled. They have to do it in such a way that it looks legit in their eyes, in the public arena, shall I say. So therefore, I try and send information best I can, like you said, telling you about my son, to warn him, to try and, he's still part of my DNA, and for the sake of his daughter, he still has the TV, the watches, which is programming, and the documents are out there to research the evidence, and he still knows a particular sentence. There's two worlds really. the way he looks at it. Many people might look at the same. There's a digital world and there's a physical existence. But what the demonic side of life is doing is trying to merge the two. Transhumanism, isn't it? So, and when I tweeted a post earlier today, or yesterday now, and another TI, I think she's in America, and it was about the torture, the brain interface technology the CIA has been using so long. And it was an abstract of a book, a very good one. I retweeted it and shared it. He retweeted it and made it his own tweet and said, well, this is the technology that I've been saying about that we could use a long time ago. And I saved the post. I thought, what the hell does he mean by that? Because I know as a child growing up, he was always artistic and very intelligent at a young age. And he's always, I do believe when I got set up as an 18-year-old, 19, 20, 19 and a half really, when they took my son off me at 6 months and my daughter about a year, by the lies of my older brother and my half elder brother, I should say, and my natural ex-army brother. And the state came in and took my kids off me and put them to care. I battled to get them off and out of that system. I don't know what the hell they must have done the occult to my kids at that age. Traumatized my daughter, and my son was too young to know. So could they have implanted them? Could they have done something to the psyche at a young age? You know? And that was thanks to my elder brother, because I chose to lose, to get rid of anything to do with my religious upbringing, because I know it's linked to Freemasonry and the occult. I just knew, and I knew much more as I got older, obviously. So all these years on, it's like a 360 turnaround. You suddenly dawn on you. It's all connected. Anyway, just read the chat because obviously I'm talking too much. No, not over here, Tanya. We don't have to wear a mask in that regard yet again. I've got builders your next door, perhaps they move out when I'm in hospital. I've got builders next house. They moved out when I was in hospital. Sorry to hear about that, Tanya. Which card's video? Watch card last video. I'll look for that later. It is hell on earth. Sending loves and hugs to you and your family and your helper. I really don't know what's going on in my family right now. And yeah, she's offered to see them this Saturday just to help me out tonight, early morning. Thanks for that, Tanya. And all those that are going through this TIs in the world, awaken my cousins are paid perps too. Yeah, the family, eh? Sorry to hear about that. Very sad for your granddaughter awaken. They will not listen. No, they won't. They take that from smart TVs, yes, yes, yes. And it is like the mind. Is I don't know when you'll notice the tech. The tech on smart. I'll play something in the background in a moment. Is that control of the mind pattern? It's like a distraction. If anyone will notice that. Right. I think I got a notification about something, so let me just check an email. Yeah, thanks for the links, by the way, Tanya. Thanks, Tanya. Thank you for your wishes you sent by email, by the way. Need a miracle, guardian angel. Oh yeah, here we go. Or speech, that's it. What is it like they take from them? Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's it, Tanya, that's it. You got it right there. But I could play something in the background about common law. Hopefully I can. Should be able to play it, yeah.
Now it's time for accountability. Okay.
So keep this.
On that note, everyone have a wonderful week. I'll be back here on Thursday, and enjoy this wonderful interview that I had today with Eddie Cornell. He's an incredible man, and I'm sure you're going to look forward to seeing many more broadcasts with Eddie in the near future. I'm going to bring him back because we're coming together right now because he has. I'll just leave it at that. His background in the military is invaluable to me right now. It's absolutely wonderful. So thank you again for everybody. Godspeed. Enjoy this wonderful interview, and I'll see you all again on Thursday. Today's date is Monday, September the 27th, 2021. My name is Christopher James, and I have today with me a wonderful man, incredible man, as this broadcast. His background is 22 years in the Canadian Forces in a combat arms trade as a gunner artillery. He also took part in many operational training exercises within Canada and also other parts of the world. He was an instructor for 3 years at the Canadian Forces Recruit School, which is the first exposure they receive and will rely on throughout their careers in the military. He also served overseas in Cyprus and UNIFICIT, which I'm going to ask him what that is when he comes on, as part of his Canada's role with the United Nations. He was also awarded the Medal of Bravery, which is very important that you understand the character and the capacity of this man that I'm bringing on this broadcast here today. He has numerous backgrounds and skills in his tool chest, so to speak, and he eventually wound up also becoming an OPP ancillary officer, and he will be speaking to his experience in that role as well. So I would like you, everyone, without further ado, to welcome Eddie to the show. Eddie, it's a pleasure to meet you.
Thanks, Christopher. Nice to be here today.
Well, it's an absolute honor for me to have you here. We met about a month ago, and it was an absolutely wonderful and fluid conversation. I think we were like a couple of old women. Three hours blew by like nothing, and it was just a wonderful conversation. So I am truly honored to have you here today. So let's get into it, Eddie. If you can, for the people at home there, can you give them a little bit more detail now about your background in the military
Sure.
and then working through up to the OPP law enforcement? I do have a few pictures I'll show along the way, but have at it, my friend.
Okay. I joined the military in 1975 as a young 17-year-old during the time of the Cold War. And that was a time where our enemies were very clearly defined. We knew who they were, and we prepared in a way that was very structured in a conventional way. I worked through, a bunch of different operational settings. I worked in different countries of the world. I did some time in England and worked in a tactical support role with some of the British, and was exposed to how they work, and I worked alongside of them. I did a tour in Cyprus, which is UNFICIP, and that's the Canadian Forces contingent in Cyprus. And as you know, that's between the Greeks and the Turks. The Turks invaded the island back in the early 60s. And, the actual war came to place in 1974. And Canada was participating in that role as peacekeepers, I believe, up until I'm kind of thinking of the year now. I think it was 89 or 1990, somewhere in that area. And thousands of Canadians like myself went through and did their tour of duty over there. While I was there, I was awarded the Medal of Bravery. It was a life-threatening situation. I was very thankful that I made it through that. And, 2 years later, was recognized with the Medal of Bravery, which I'm very proud of. And I try to wear it with honor and distinction. I'm very proud of that. And later, I went on to join the OPP. I didn't want to make policing a full-time situation for myself, but I wanted to contribute to the community. And one of the larger reasons was I wanted to find out what it was like on the inside of the police organization. So I had an understanding of what they do, how they do it, their command structure. And, I've been awake for a long time. And I thought this is the type of information I could use to give me a well-rounded picture of what I already knew was happening in our country and around the world. And luckily for me, that exposure, it dovetailed very well with my previous experience in the military. I have, the ability to work under pressure and under stress, and our whole country is under stress and pressure, and people feel helpless. And I don't want people to feel helpless, because they're not. Our strength is in our numbers, and our numbers are big. And I know there's a line, I think I mentioned that before. We're not going to allow. That's what I want to be able to offer to people that are searching for the strength to stand their ground. And I feel that that's what I can bring to this fight. And it is
incredible, because right now our country truly needs that, Eddie. They need people like yourself that are a light into this world, that are bringing calmly and powerfully and truthfully an understanding, because in our very deep conversation, we covered a very broad spectrum, and you're a very well-read man. You're very educated on multiple fronts. And as we were discussing earlier, a lot of people don't have this basic foundational knowledge. So when you encounter this with people, how is your approach to bring people on side? Because you're working with many groups right now, correct?
I am. I don't try to push people with overwhelming amounts of information. I like to ask questions, and I like to have them check things for themselves. Not try to just be an encyclopedia of verbal diarrhea, handing it out to people, and have them look for themselves. And once they discover some of that information, that they could come to me or others and ask any questions that they might have with what they found. It's worked very well. It's infectious. People,
exactly.
People. The hardest thing is to awaken someone. But once they awaken, they are ravenous for information.
About your
and you've experienced that yourself, I'm sure.
Yes.
And people are waking up in record numbers right now. And we've got to be mindful. These are like, these, in a sense, I don't mean to say they're like children, but they're, the naivety of people with the fact that they finally realize that they cannot trust their public health to give them sound, true information. And that is for most people to, and that trust is something that realize has been broken.
Eddie, as far as the military goes, it's the same here in Canada. Vaccines, which are not vaccines, are into our fellow man. Well, with your understanding what's going on with the have and what maybe the conversation thinks.
Not with the program. Going along with what the narrative that the government mandates, recommendations, advisories, recommendations, I think I said that, but a mandate is not a law. So people need to know that they can say no. And saying no, as our Prime Minister and others say, there's consequences from saying no. But there's also consequences for them, because in the end, when you see that your government violates your most basic rights as a human being within this country, our Charter of Rights and also the Bill of Rights, that what line won't they cross? It tells me that they'll do anything to consolidate the power.
Yeah, that's a great word, Eddie. That's what's been occurring in our country for a very long time. It's always been a consolidation of power. First they did it with the whole thing with Mike Harris, right? When he came in and he did all this, basically coordinating and diminishing all the capacities, all the local communities, and trying to put them all under one larger super hub that's out there today. And it's only increased since Doug Ford's come on the scene as well. So it's a very serious time in our world right now, and that's why this truth that you bring forward to people is very, very important.
Basically in the situation we are right now in the country is they're trying to scare everyone they can to get the shot. And if you want to take the shot, that's fine, that's your business. But being coerced, forced, mandated, directed, recommended, whatever, and you don't want to do it, you do not have to do it. And no matter what they do not have the right to stop you from your employment, from your freedom of movement, from your choice of where you live. You are Canadian, and Canada has no internal borders, yet they are exercising that in places around the country and have in the past. And you need to know what your rights are. Be informed, because they want you to be confused. They want you not to understand what your rights are, because they want you to go along with the program. And they've shown clearly, which I said a moment ago, that they will violate the law and they will violate your rights. So it tells me they'll do anything to achieve their objective. So we need to know that we can stand together, shoulder to shoulder, amongst like-minded people, and say no, and act in a non-violent manner, because the minute we turn to violence, we lose. We lose. And we will win, and we will hold these people accountable. And every one of them is going to be, they're going to be tried, and they're going to be punished. extent of the laws that we have within our country. Nothing less, nothing more. But they will be held accountable.
Yeah.
You're absolutely correct there, Eddie. And as I teach and share with everybody, the Charter and Freedom of Rights of Canada and the Bill of Rights and the simplicity of law is that you have to understand is that words on a piece of paper do not control a man or a woman without our consent.
Exactly.
And these people that have created these documents in the past that I was born into, the Bill of Rights was created before I came into this world. I don't know who these people are, and they're obviously operating on behalf of a service corporation called Canada. Yeah. And that's why I only reference the very opening line in the Charter of Freedom of Rights. It says Canada, which is a service corporation, recognizes the supremacy of God. Thank you very much. That's the law of this land, that we all know that we're not property of one another. We don't trespass against our fellow man and woman, and that contract makes the law. It's that simple. That's where our rights come from, Eddie. They come within our heart, our minds, and our soul. And as you said there so eloquently earlier, people are being deceived and misled to where their rights actually come from. We have a society called lawyers that point to, they always use this Charter and Freedom of Rights, but that does not give us our rights. We came into this world with those rights already. It's supposed to be a guide for, again, these agents and officers of these service corporations providing services. And this is, as you know, the first casualty in war is always truth. So that's why, for me, what you're talking about to the military is very important right now, because we've never needed the military and the police more than ever right now to wake up and understand where this corruption is. Can you speak to that, to those officers, if you were, what you would say to them?
Yes. I'll speak to the military at first. I'm very concerned that the military does not seem to be as awake as they should. I participated in veterans group. I've been kicked out of a few because of my opinions. And I find that very troubling, because your moral compass and orders at some point can conflict. Doing what's right and what's lawful is the right way to go. I have disobeyed orders in my career because I felt they were unlawful. And believe me, you pay a price for questioning your orders and not following an order, especially in a command structure. But this is so serious in this country. Our military needs to really look at what it is they're being ordered to do. I had a young soldier approach me. I won't give any names. In the past couple of weeks, he's a reservist. He's absolutely beside himself because they are now offering employment into the concentration camps that are up in the north of Ontario. And they put it to him like this: how would you like to be an SS officer? Isn't that great? I'm not kidding.
Oh my God.
He literally lost his mind. He's distraught. So, he says, do I run? Do I quit? Well, no. You try to speak to your other soldiers. And here's what else is very disturbing in the military right now. I'll go from the bigger picture to what happened in the command structure of the Canadian purged. So why is that? When you look back over the past few years, some of the government at the time and said that we're not going to participate in that. And that was training Chinese troops and so on. Well, all these generals have now been removed under different situations. Some are, harassment, sexual harassment, inappropriate behavior, whatever it is. So it's effectively taken them out of the picture to be replaced, possibly, I can't say for sure, but with more sympathetic, like-minded, left-leaning leadership. They've done that in the RCMP as well. So now when you get down to the rank and file of the military, they actually have a methodology or a method that you report your fellow soldiers that are speaking in a way that are contrary to what you're having your rank and file within the military reporting each other for thought. That's very disturbing. Now, on the police end of things, there's some really good things starting to happen. The police are waking up in record numbers. They are not on board with most of what they are being told to enforce. There are a few that love nothing more than putting a boot on your neck, but the vast majority of officers that I speak to are not with this program. So that's very exciting. Unlike, recent events in Australia, it's a much different story down there with their police force. So it's very encouraging from what I'm hearing coming up through the different police agencies within Ontario and within the country. So in the near future, I think we're going to see some change. And a lot of the police forces have publicly came to the front and said, yeah, we're not enforcing the vaccine passport. And if you call for an infraction for vaccine passport, we are not responding.
I know, Tony.
That's very encouraging. So, basically at the command structure, the chiefs and, the commissioners and the inspector level, which are, at the political level, you might see some of those people lose their jobs or be replaced. That's possible, but that's probably something that these people have made the decision that if that's what happens, then I'm good with that. And it takes a lot of courage to stand up and say that. So I admire those who have come forward and have done that. And it gives the citizens, some confidence that they're not going to be ending up in a situation like Australia.
Yeah. Let me just share a couple of quick pictures with everybody here, Eddie, so that they can see your background here. And you want to just kind of walk everybody through what this picture is here when you first started with the OPP?
Sure, that's me when I was on patrol with the OPP. I enjoyed it very much. I was proud to wear that uniform. The OPP, I found while I served, was a very professional organization. I can't speak for them or on their behalf, but it was very professional, and the people that I worked with truly were in it for the right reasons. I found that the officers in the area that I worked were very, considerate of the public, and they knew the line that they didn't cross, and that was very encouraging to me. That's me. I'm downtown at a rally in Toronto, standing up for our freedoms. That was, I think, last year during the beginning of this pandemic, and I was very proud to stand up as a veteran. The part that's kind of discouraging for me is that I'll see a lot of veterans out in the rallies that I attend or speak to, and I'm hoping we grow in numbers. They're there. They're in the shadows. You need to come forward. This is your time.
Yep, definitely.
Exactly.
And this last picture that we have here, I mean, that I broke that one there, that was when you first joined the OPP?
Yes. Yeah.
That's terrific. Well, you're talking a minute ago there, Eddie, about the purging that's gone on. And for those people, as I'm sure you're aware of, is the enormous work that I've been doing in trying to incorporate and bring this truth forward to the OPP, the senior level. There's obviously been a disconnect, and the prior commissioner, Brad Blair, he held a press conference saying that we have a problem here with this larger service corporation called Ontario, because the officers found some very serious corruption that was going on. And what is obviously being shown here right now is Gabriel, who you may or not be aware of, one of the OPP officers. He stepped out into the light right now, and he recognizes that there's something very, very wrong. And we're really in the throes of this right now in real time, showing and exposing everybody the communications that are going back and forth, so that they can see who is actually doing something and who's not. And this is the problem that we have here, is that, there's I don't know if you saw the clip that just came out yesterday. It's absolutely fantastic, Eddie. I put it up on my platforms. It's a Canadian molecular biologist, and she's exposed exactly what's going on. She's laid it all out very succinctly for a board. I believe it's out in British Columbia there, to understand. She went and spoke to them that this is what's going on, and she's bringing up the VAERS, which is a reporting system, and that only 1% of the actual so-called reactions to these so-called vaccines injections is being reported. So when she gets right into it, the numbers we're talking about here are in the millions of people that have died, being murdered around this world from this. This is how serious this is. And that's why my great concern is not only in Canada here, but in the United States with the military, these incredible people that put their lives on the line. They went into this role like you did, Eddie, to protect and serve. And I know you said to me, something that also really touched me about you is that you recognized that after all these years that you were doing these things, that there were some very nefarious things, that you were not given these foundational truths, and you're actually acting in a sense against your fellow man and woman. So could you just touch on that a little bit? Because, like I said, that really touched me with you, Eddie, is that you understood the big picture. And you told me that took a little while for you to come to terms with what had gone on. But you are definitely, my friend, making amends for everything that's gone on prior.
Well, I found having been part of a United Nations force in a country that was having difficulties, I was part of a police state, in a sense. And with time and reflection, you realize, was I part of the problem? Was I acting in a matter or a manner for a globalist agenda? Was I? And I think my answer would be, yes, I was. But when you do something like that at the time, you think, well, I'm doing it for the greater good of the citizens, protecting the citizens. And yes, you are in some regard. But, it's like, could that happen here? I believe it could. I mean, we have a small military. We have basically a small police force that, sort of guards the laws of the land. And what if they aren't able to do what the government wants them to do, or reject what the government says? What will our government do? Will they bring in a force like the UN force I was part of to impose the will of the United Nations on the citizens of our country? I don't have that answer, but I know that I was part of one that did. And it's troubling, because now, knowing what the UN stands for and what they actually do, it's one of those things that you realize that was I part of the problem, or was I part of the solution? And that's a prospect I still deal with.
Yeah, it's a big problem in our world right now when we're talking about this purging. For me, I've been doing this research for many years, over 20 years, and when I understood, about 10 years ago, what Stephen Harper did with the RCMP, basically used to have 4 different division heads right across Canada, and he basically lopped the head of that off, and then he put in a political appointee, and that's this consolidation that's been continually going on, and we've seen that, I believe, we've also had the OPP has been usurped now with this current man that's in there, because he has 500 emails from people surrounding the Sekleski court, the work that I did, just to simply bring forward the truth that the rules of civil procedure apply to we the people. That's what's being blocked from us at the courthouses, and not one response. So it's very serious, and that's why the people in the ranks are reaching out to us now, and also to yourself, because they understand that something is very, very wrong. And I believe we've got to come together quickly, Eddie, at our end, because this boulder is moving towards us. For me, when you're not vaccinating, you're providing these injections to all these honorable people. I look at it from a very big picture. If a foreign entity wanted to come in and get control of this country, I believe our country is already controlled in the political realm already, in the service corporations. But when you get right down to controlling the people, well, the honorable men and women that are in law enforcement, frontline responders, that's what they're there for. That's what they did all their training for, to protect the people here in our country. And if they're getting these injections, Eddie, and their health is going to be compromised, as I'm hearing from all these horrific stories just within the OPP, what's going to happen with our military, right? All of a sudden, we've been compromised at a level that allows what you were just talking about there, from these foreign troops to be brought in under this auspice of the UN, that they're here to help, when they are nothing more than a global, force to basically finally take away the rights and freedoms of this country, while hanging this whole COVID theater out there for the rest of the people to continually follow that narrative. How do you see that unfolding?
I agree. And, what you're seeing is that in all the first responders, they have about a 30% margin of people on stress leave at the moment. So that means the rest that are there have to pick up the slack. And in some cases, nurses and so on, they're working 100 hours to make up for the people that aren't there. So if they've gotten their vaccine and somebody has, a reaction to the vaccine and are unable to work, then what? I mean, our healthcare system has been underfunded and understaffed long before a pandemic. But this is the excuse now they use to show that, our healthcare is being overwhelmed. The ICUs are overwhelmed. No, it's not because of COVID. It's because of your mismanagement and underfunding and understaffing. And it's been the same in any of the first responders areas of employment across the country. So it's the old bait and switch type of situation where they now have the perfect tool, COVID, to blame every one of their shortcomings. And the consolidating of power is the other factor. So, for example, if you look at the political system, you have the leader of each party, you have the prime minister. They've all consolidated power to the point that if you don't agree or say exactly what they want you to say, boom, they punch you out, they jettison you out to oblivion. That's wrong. I mean, if you ran a business that way, you'd be called a pyramid scheme, and they'd charge you and arrest you, or not arrest you. I apologize for that. They would charge you, with committing fraud or committing some kind of financial crime. So, the two things that I think we need to immediately change as far as our government is that when you get elected in a party as an MP or MPP in any province, that you have the right to a free vote and free speech. Your leader can't take that away. And they can't punch you from the party. You were elected to that chair from the whatever party you were, and you're there till the next election. He can't get rid of you, just because you disagree with the leader. That would fundamentally change how politics work in this country. And, they'd actually listen to the people. But right now, no. I mean, when you look at Aaron O'Toole, for example, all the parties have swung to the left. I mean, Aaron O'Toole, it was his election to lose. If it was a baseball game, he would have been at bat and they would have tossed him a beach ball, and he didn't even take a swing at it. So he just went along with the program, adopted the liberal left point of view. So what is it they have on these people? What is it? What did they know about the other leaders? Are they being have they been compromised? Because surely there has to be something. You don't all of a sudden decide to say, I'm going to go along with everything you say. Isn't opposition parties' duty to be opposition and oppose and argue on the other side? But we didn't see any of that. And any dissenting voice, regardless of who you voted for, did you really see an effective opposition in the media? If you're looking at mainstream media, you didn't see anything. They control the message. So in my eyes, that's how this government stole the election. And I'm not saying, they stole it in the sense where they rigged the ballots. I don't know anything about that. But they stole the message and influenced the Canadian public in a way with scaremongering and other tactics that you believe our government's done a great job and they want to keep you safe. And we're all in this together and we're doing this for the collective of the greater good. Well, yeah, that's definitely a problem. So this is something I wrestle with. I think we're at the point now, I'd love to wake everybody up, and people are waking up. But I think the fact is that I'm a lion, and I want to find other lions. And the lions are the ones that will fight. The sheep that haven't woke up, they will follow whoever wins. So I want to be on the winning side because I believe we're on the correct side of history. And in fact, I know we're on the correct side of history. How can anyone putting in the agenda that they put in believe that they are right? You know, with erasing our culture, banning churches, you know, erasing our history, banning books, censoring the internet, censoring free speech. That doesn't sound like a free and democratic society to me.
No.
Something very dangerous in that ideology, and we've seen it before.
Yes, we have. As they always say, you know, those who fail to learn history are doomed to repeat it. And unfortunately, this part of history that we're on, it appears that we're repeating again here, Eddie, that I hope that we can break free from these chains. This is literally humanity is on the line here. Okay, we're talking about when they're injecting people with these biological weapons. This is not some little game that's going on here. If they're going to be dropping like flies, as they're talking millions of people in this world, you know, they're talking about 2 billion people is the population that's going to be culled because of this whole fraudulent vaccine system.
That's alleged. I'm not going to play that. No, that's an opinion of a warrior cause. I won't play that. Yeah, the one of it's strange as well. I'll play that privately, but I won't share it here. Checking my channel. I've got to be careful. I've got to stop playing certain comments. I've got to be careful. I've got to stop playing certain comments. Well, I've got to be careful. I've got the words, the video. A warriorcause.com if you want to go and search for the podcast. Is certain that other guy that runs the website, certain comments is his own, it's not my opinion, and I'm not saying anyway, because if this channel gets a strike or comments with YouTube AI system, Tanya, you can hear me, email me, just in case, because I would be too surprised. I have to watch what's being said. Why the world is now, be careful. This is ridiculous, the world we're living in. But you have to be careful because that's an ex-military man. And you heard where he used to work. Saying there is in Canada facilities for any offer by any medical individual on behalf of a medical company, and you want to look at your town and city and country, what the policies are and what's been offered. Informed consent is always required, and to study what your lawful rights are. But they don't always want people to know what their lawful rights are. Your God-given rights. If you want to look at subjects, reference to the origins of the birth certificate, that's a good start. Right, any offer, whatever subject, wherever you are in the world, in business and in commerce, it's an offer contract. Living man or woman, flesh and blood, these men and women working for these, whether they're public funded or private funded, needs an individual living, breathing to be acting as an agent representative for the birth certificate trade name, which is, that's what it is, a piece of paper created by the Crown, especially, for example, in England. Goes back to 1066, the Great Fire of London. I'm not expert in history. You might want to resource for your information. I have a playlist that goes into reference to birth certificate. Subject, if one cares to learn more. Because of what one knows, which is free information, and it can be found, and not just on this format, Google format. You can find it on alternative websites as well, platforms. Right? On the presumption, made like your private life, being a target individual, is made by agents on behalf of companies because they have alleged agendas. My evidence is first-hand knowledge of the truth of the facts on record, first-hand knowledge for years of documents, emails, evidence to support and back up the fact what's going on with my situation. I've studied contract law, trust law, common law, many subjects similar, related. I know exactly reference to trust and equity law, and this is what the globalist bloodline family links to the Illuminati, the Jewish Freemasonry are taught Latin, taught trust, how to put everything into a trust so you don't actually own anything. It's protected by trust. The body of the trust, shall I say. Trust, there's a certain terminology with it, I can't remember right now. Yeah, trust and equity. So body of trust is acts as a maturity terminology, words one needs to educate oneself in that regard if one wants to know more. I am not an expert, it's just an opinion. Okay, so a disclaimer, just an opinion. Why did I study the subjects I studied? Be knowledgeable, to detect before I know what I know now as the technology as a target individual. I started learning about the weather and then law subject. That way round. Yeah, so it was wasn't easy, to put it mildly. Yeah. It wasn't easy to study certain things I've learned. Like natural health, your natural, yeah, it wasn't easy. I'm having something like 2 weeks trying to, and trying to get this thing being set up. The set up, they don't want knowledge. Power, knowledge is power. If that makes any sense. Knowledge is power. So, why are you going to college? Why did you go to school? Why did you go to university? It's meant to be about to gain information. Information is a tool. Yeah. When you have a mainstream type education and you're not taught certain subjects, perhaps you didn't go to private education. Perhaps one wasn't taught certain knowledge. And then later in life, situations happen and you just start digging into rabbit holes. One may just stumble across information that you think, oh my goodness me, why weren't I ever taught that? So there's a lot more information that you stumbled across and you go, oh my gosh, I didn't know that. And now here we are. You know, as you get older, all these years, but the younger generation may not be taught. Why do they want to get rid of books? Why is everything on the internet? Why is everything going to digital? Big questions, yeah, maybe. So they don't want people to question. Why is that then? Yeah, it's just knowledge, isn't it? It's just information that you just learn. Yeah, I can, yeah, it's sort of about why talking to myself. This is what I say, what's happened to me. I'm just nobody, I'm just me. I just happen to know things about everybody. Nothing special. Just educate yourself. Educate yourself to all. Start educating. Oh, gosh. Right. Education. Oh, is he? He talks too quiet, Tanya. Bless his heart. I'm fed up with this. He talks too quiet. 10 to 3. They keep hacking everything I own. Bloody nasty pieces of work. There's powers that be, aren't there? Trauma. What does trauma do? Nappies on, you see, let's have a look. I've messed up with every damn bloody thing I own. Frequencies are not very great, is it? My mates doing me are ugly. These universities around the corner. We just switch this to the internet, main internet, so they hack me on that. Nappies on. Educate yourself, dog. So I'm on UK Waking World. This gets flagged because of the podcast I was sharing. Right, let's see if I've got a notification from Nappy. Let's switch this on to main. It's like, oh yeah, Nappy's on, we're live. I'll get hardly anyone coming in because they haven't me. NK Ultra in it. I actually get away with playing music on this live. Oh, it's stopped now. Is it America, perhaps? Is it America, perhaps? Is it America, perhaps? I'm getting really hacked. Dealing with the dark clouds of doubt. So really good scripture verses. The testimony of blood is like in scripture. It starts with a prayer. And then you've got God's promises, you've got some healing, sort of like spiritual healing music as well. Prayers of God's promises revealed in mind. So, okay, 2 weeks ago, I learned about just talking comments, responses, and well, what life could have been. Let go, resting in God. Well, I call it Jesus. It's a warfare, the fallen ones, you know. So we're looking at people who like to sensationalise events about the weather, Canary Islands, for example. I think this is important right now.
A lot of people, maybe you can relate, you want to get into property because property is one of the...
We don't know, and now I'm a homeschool parent, and I didn't choose this. Pray about your kids. If you're worried about somebody getting sick, pray about it. If you're worried about you getting sick, but not really about the virus, but getting that thing shoved up your nose to tickle your brain and they come out the other side of your head, pray about it. If it's on your mind, it's on God's heart. If it's big enough to worry about, it's big enough to pray about. What is anxiety? It's a signal alerting you. It's time to pray.
Don't be anxious. Do not worry about anything, but pray about everything. In other words, be a worshiper, not a worrier. Turn your worries into prayers. If you have time enough to worry, you have time enough to pray.
There are no subjects off limit. There is nothing that you cannot pray about. If you're interested in it, God's interested in it. If you worry about it, pray about it. If you prayed as much as you worried, you'd have a lot less to worry about. Worry never changes anything, but prayer can change things. So when you start to pray, start to worry, you stop and say, well, if I'm worried about it, I may as well pray about it. He says you can pray about everything. Nothing is off limits. You can pray about physical issues, mental issues. You can pray about financial issues, sexual issues. You can pray about relational issues, career issues, political issues. There is nothing off limits. Don't worry about anything, but in everything, through prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your request to God. And the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. Look at verse 6. Don't worry about anything, but in everything, through prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your request known to God. Don't worry. Don't worry. Don't worry about what? Don't worry about anything, is what he's saying. Don't worry about anything.
Now, I can tell you this, we can do a great job of not worrying, but it is real hard to put that ending part on there. Don't worry about anything. There's a lot to worry about. There's some things I'm worried about. There's some things I'm not worried about. And that's been throughout the course of my life. There's things my wife would be worried about that I'm not worried about. Your spouse, your kids, your friend, whoever it is. But don't worry about anything. It's like the tallest order you could imagine. You know, worry is an interesting thing. Anxiety is an interesting thing. Here's why it's interesting. Responsibility brings worry. Think about that. Responsibility brings worry. So you're worried about your kids, but I promise you, your neighbor is not worried about your kids because you are responsible for your kids. You're worried about your job. You're worried about your industry. You're worried about your 401k. You're worried about your investments. But the person 5 houses down is not worried about any of those things. Why? Because they're not responsible for those things. It's an interesting thing. Responsibility actually brings worry. And sometimes the more responsibility you have, the greater struggle it will have with worry. Now, it's very interesting because that responsibility is a wonderful, God-given, amazing thing. And then worry is this thing that creeps up on it as well. So the more you have responsibility for, probably the greater fight you're going to have with worry. But Paul is saying, don't worry, because worry becomes this fret. Worry becomes this, it's not in God's hands, it's in my hands. Worry becomes this, it's up to me instead of up to him. Worry becomes this, okay, what are they going to say? What are they going to do? But worry, you can be responsible and not be a worrier. You can be responsible and not be a worrier because you want your responsibility to be given over to the Lord. So you say, God, you be the parent through me. You be the spouse through me. You be the employer or the employee through me. You be the leader through me. God, you do your work. I'm going to give it to you, and I'm going to leave it in your hands, just as we sung just a few moments ago. I will rest in him, and I will leave the rest to him, that we're able to say, God, I give you my worry, and I hand it to you. And you can actually be a more responsible parent, leader, friend, family member, employee, employer, whatever it is, by being faithful instead of being filled with worry.
So here we find Jesus telling us affliction, persecution, and the cares of this world. He said they enter in. He said you have to let them enter in. Why? Because he said that we're to cast our care on him, for he cares for us. So it's a choice that we make. We either let it enter in or we cast the care. Now again, I'm not talking about being irresponsible, but I'm talking about things that you can't control. Why worry? Pray. Isn't that what Philippians said? Don't worry, pray.
If you don't want to live in fear, anxiety, and worry, put your concerns in the hands of God. As someone wisely said, when your knees start knocking, kneel on them. Now, our natural inclination is when we face adversity to reach out to people for help, people out of their place, but ultimately we must turn to God.
Worry tells God, and it tells everybody who's watching your life, which, by the way, if you're a Christian, the world is watching. Worry communicates that you don't trust God for the details. Worry basically tells God, without ever saying this, worry tells God, hey, thanks for all the stuff you've done in the past. I know, like, the whole speaking stars into existence thing was pretty great. And, like, the orbiting of the planets and how you made all the animals and you're making my heart beat right now. That's cool and all, but I'll take it from here. That's what worry communicates. We don't trust God with the details. You and I are really bad at being God. Can we just commit today to give God his job back? Let him be God. Why do you and I get so weighed down and worried and lose sleep about stuff we weren't meant to bear? The Bible says, cast your cares on him because he cares for you. Hey, God, I'll let you stay up tonight. I'm going to bed. Martin Luther said, pray and let God worry.
The Bible says in Matthew 6:33, it says, seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and everything that you have need of in your life will be added to you. I want you to listen to that very carefully. Seek first. I want to pause on the word first. First is not second, third, fourth, or fifth place, but it's first. It's numero uno. It's in the beginning of a thing. And so it is priority. When Jesus says that we are to seek first the kingdom of God, he is in essence saying, I want you to make sure you make this priority in your life. Above everything else, make it priority. Hear me. In our churches, many Christians are seeking other things. They're seeking healing for their bodies. They're adamantly seeking prosperity or increase, breakthrough, financial breakthrough. They're seeking the restoration of a marriage, the restoration of their children's lives, and so on and so forth. And though all of these things are noble, and all of these things are worth pursuing, hear me now, Jesus gave us a revelation. He gave us a revelation. He says, if you put the kingdom of God and you're seeking after it first in your life, if you make it priority, then all of these other things that you have need of, you are going to find. In other words, you'll find your healing when you find the kingdom. You'll find your restoration, the restoration for your marriage, when you find the kingdom. You will find the healing of your children, the deliverance that you need, when you find the kingdom. So one of the primary reasons we have to keep praying is for God to work on us. And that's not always true every single time. Sometimes God will lay something on our heart, and it's out there in the future. He wants us to start talking to him about it now. Why? Because in the process of talking to him about it, even maybe several months or whatever it might be, God is in the process of drawing us close to him, intimately with him, shifting things out of our life, maybe the way you think, and it's not necessarily something bad you think, but the way you think about that given situation. God has to work in our hearts. And so when we think, well, God's not hearing me, and you say, well, if you just keep on praying and keep on praying, finally God's got the answer. You can't make God do anything. The reason we have to keep praying, because we're seeking an answer, and sometimes the reason we have to keep praying is because God is in the process of shaping us up exactly where he wants us. Then, of course, we have to rest in God's promise. Now, this is why the Word of God is so very important. There's so many promises, and you know so many of them. If I'm gonna find out what God wants me to do in a situation,
Demons don't like me playing spiritual, uplifting messages.
have to rest in his promises. And one of them is, he says, ask and it shall be given you, seek and you shall find, knock and it will be open to you. That's the promise of Almighty God. He says this is the confidence that we have in him, that if we ask anything according to his will, he hears us. And if we know that he hears us, we know that we have the petition we desire of him. And on we could go of promises. And so if I'm making a decision and I'm coming to that point of asking God to make it crystal clear, here's what will happen. If you will open the Word of God and listen carefully, if you just begin to read in the Psalms and the Proverbs alone, you may say, well, you know, I don't know a whole lot about Psalms and Proverbs. Just read and ask God to speak to your heart. Lord, is there something here that you need to say to me? Do you want to use your word to speak to my heart? So often he does.
Jesus says, seek first the kingdom of God. And here, first is not first in series or order or process. It is first in priority. Jesus is not merely saying, put God first and your family second and your education third. No. He is saying God is to be the most important thing in your life. That is not to suggest that you should have no concern for the other areas of your life and the things that matter to you. It is to say that your commitment to God should shape and guide and govern every other area of your life. You to seek God first in your family. Seek God first in your education. Seek God first in your ministry. Jesus bid a young man to follow him, Luke 9, verses 59 and 60. And he said, sure, Lord, I'll follow you, but first let me go bury my father. Jesus said, let the dead bury their own dead. You go proclaim the kingdom. Jesus was not in any way suggesting he should be disrespectful to his parents. His issue is the word first. That passage is to remind us, brothers and sisters, the Lord will not take next in your life. He desires first place. He deserves first place. He demands first place in your life. Beware. You think you're too young to seek God, or too proud to seek God, or too busy to seek God, or too...
So, that segment took place in Bournemouth and passed. Oh, here it goes, begins. Global news online. Canada, Alberta, I think that's Canada, is premiering. Doctors plea for a shutdown as cases of you-know-what scores. It begins.
Inclusion in the House of Commons. The electoral system is absolutely one.
Maintain a high standard of care. Premier Jason Kenney, though, is resisting calls to bring in tougher restrictions. ICU capacity is now at 84%, but that includes the extra beds that have already been added and the beds that have opened up because people have died. Without those extra beds, the system would be at 180% capacity. The vast majority of COVID-19 patients are not fully vaccinated, and the situation could escalate as more people become infected. More than 10% of people in Alberta being tested for COVID-19 right now are testing positive. Heather Urix-West spoke with one of those unvaccinated patients about his near-death experience and his regrets. She has our top story tonight.
I was scared, and I didn't know what was going on, like whether or not I would live or not.
Bernie Cook is not afraid to say he was wrong. The 46-year-old underestimated the Delta variant. He had held strong opinions against the vaccine, and because of that, he almost died.
I had a lot of reasons to not vaccinate. One, I'm a healthy guy. It's pneumonia. I was like, I can fight that. Boy, was I wrong.
Cook spent 11 days on a ventilator, one of hundreds of Alberta COVID patients in intensive care. The system is overwhelmed, and from the inside, Cook could feel the stress and strain.
All of us that were in ICU and are flooding the COVID wards, we were only focused about ourselves. We weren't thinking about other people.
He shares his regret now in the hopes that others won't make his mistake. But across the province, the sick keep coming. It's why Alberta's former Chief Medical Officer of Health is among those now calling for more public health restrictions. Getting people vaccinated will help in the longer term. But right now, he says, Alberta needs to shut down places that allow indoor gatherings.
What I fear is going to happen is that the minister and premier will continue to not take any action, and we will continue to lose 100 Albertans a week.
But speaking to Chorus Radio on Sunday, Alberta's premier was resistant to the idea.
First of all, that makes no sense for the 80% of the population that's vaccinated, who are at much lower levels of risk of transmission and extremely lower level risks of hospitalization. But secondly, it's the roughly 20% of the adult population who are unvaccinated who are less likely to observe public health measures.
Alberta Health Services has not yet started its critical care triage protocol or transferred any patients out of province for care. But the only reason this province has been able to manage the growing demand is because so many...
That's not good news for those over there. Was the hospital system not working even before the COVID? And then somebody says, so don't blame the surge. The immune system protects us, not the... Some other comments I won't repeat. Yeah, Canada, yeah. So somebody says, those that are not taking the offer of, you know what, will be able to enter Canada and play in Toronto against, don't know what match that is, sports. But we should fire the nurses and doctors if they don't take the, you know what. Just looking at the comments. Somebody said there's nothing like balance reporting. There's a lot of mixed comments which I won't read out. Lockdowns, millions to save a few. Okay. Now we've got Stephen. He's talking about Nibiru as they are trolling. Sorry. Press the wrong button. The Monday night, people still awake behind me right now. So let's.
And I deleted both of my channels to my chagrin and great regret. Ain't nothing wrong with asking for a little bit of help. And most of the people who really do know me, including my friend Barbie here, completely trust that I'm doing and saying and trying the right thing right now. You know, better to ask for help than to flop on the floor. Ain't nothing wrong with asking for help. It takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of humility and humbleness to just say, you know what, guys, a little bit of gas money, you know, here's my meeting for anybody who, she said, I Claude Maspina. If they have nothing good to say, then don't say anything at all. That's one real thing about me. I never get on anybody's channel. I don't care if they're a troll, if they debunk Nemesis Nibiru. I still put a thumbs up, you know, because at least people are putting forth the effort. Can you see it? It's right there. Follow up with Mental Health Access Point Central Clinic on 9/28/21. I'm sorry if I hadn't gotten this piece of paper yet and repeated what the lady had told me. I didn't know the date. I'm driving around in Michigan, you know, almost 500 miles away from, yeah, well, you know what? UK Awake World, I need help. And I'm homeless. UK, my housing company blocked my disabled wet room repair. Yeah, and I believe you. And if I had $5 extra, I'd send you some. I'd PayPal you. I PayPal'd a couple of people, Jeff P., Naughty Beaver, you know, a few other people when I had the finances. I didn't ask if they were lying or not. I didn't think they were lying or not. I didn't inquire as to what they needed anything for. I just sent it because they're frontliners. I don't even agree with everything that Naughty Beaver says, but the man needed some help, and I helped. To the tune of about $30. You've asked for a lot of help over the years, Seven. Wow. You know, so many fantastic Nemesis Nibiru research channels have bitten the dust. Expitali, Don Guild, Dill Martin, crisis actor. Identify this. Steve Olson don't put out videos anymore. And he ain't perfect. You know, we've had our disagreements. You know, quite a few other channels now, they just go private because they're sick of being trolled and they're sick of being questioned as to their authenticity, you know, their honesty, what they're talking about. Well, I know what it feels like now, except now I'm not going to go cry about it, you know, and drink about it. You know, I was hoping I could leave that in the past, but I'll be damned if one of my favorite people on my channel didn't just totally rub me, drag me in the dirt today, you know, smear me with like the first comment on that video. And I'm going to leave the video up because there's nothing wrong with asking for help. Now, if I hadn't gotten my act together a week and a half ago, and if I wasn't just being totally transparent with you guys, then I would have known better. Marshall Masters, well, you know, he'll be back. He's too smart. He's out there prepping and building something in the woods, you know, because he's looking out for number one, which maybe I should do or should have been doing all along. You know, you end up giving out a lot of your empathic and psychic and spiritual energy when you've got a couple of hundred or a couple of thousand people who you really care about and you think about them every day. You feel a responsibility to wake up at 6:30, get to the hill. You know, you deliberate whether you've got, you know, the gas and air in your tires and, you know, some hand warmers enough to get out on the hill or just stay at home and watch the movie. You know, a lot of times I put you guys first. Maybe you don't remember that. You know, how many of you bust your butt to get out in the mornings and at night in the middle of winter when it's freezing cold and you know you're going to burn up a quarter tank of gas just trying to keep your car on so that you can run up to it every 15 minutes, warm up, and then run back out on the hill in the snow and freezing rain. You don't know what it's like. You don't. You know, I try to check out your channels because I like to go and try to subscribe to as many of your guys' channels as I can. You got 2 or 3 subs. You don't get out there and do that. It hurts sometimes physically. You end up getting back in your car after being on the hill for an hour to finally compile 10 minutes of footage because you have to wait that long sometimes. And you're numb. You're hurting. You got frostbite. You know, you got 1/10 of a tank of gas left. You don't hear me talk about that stuff a lot. At the end of every video, I don't go, can you guys help me? You know, at the end of every Sky video. By the way, I just used up the last quarter tank of my gas to get out here and freeze my butt off, spend $10 on hand warmers. You know, it's not an everyday occurrence. Hence, my trying to monetize for 2 hours with Barbie's help. You know, and I'll get on it tomorrow. I'll try to. I mean, I almost feel like giving up. I really do. It's amazing. You know, trying to do a little video about getting trolled and getting Karen'd to death today. But I've got Zoe, you know, Star Child here. You know, and everything that I say, there's a rebuttal and a refute. You know, or the person, I Uber Eats, you can do it too in your car. Well, you know, like I said, that thing ain't exactly meant to be cruising around 55 extra miles a day. I've already driven it to Tennessee, Michigan, back and forth, you know, minus the sway bars and the tie rod. You know, I'm trying to preserve the damn thing for a little bit longer. You know, you get out and you burn something up with 180,000 miles on it. One day, you know, you're gonna need a new car. I don't want to go get a new car yet, folks. I don't want a $300, you know, $350 car payment a month. I'm trying to avoid that. I paid the thing off a couple of years ago with a lot of hard work and sacrifice. I don't mean to do an old school Angry 7 video, but damn. You know, slap me stupid for trying to ask for a little bit of help. Because there might be 1 or 2 people who do. You know, anybody else who has any disagreement or anything, email me about it. Call me about it. You know, 7, what's your phone number? I'd like to talk to you. Call me. Well, I mean, why rear you upset again? Here it goes again. Bring it. Why? It's called righteous indignation, nigga. It's called getting your feelings hurt. You know, there's an easy way to contact people and do it kind of without embarrassing the dog shit out of them on their channel when they're already desperate and a little weak. You know, they've been very open and honest about things. It's not like I changed my life around a week and a half ago, totally alone and isolated in Michigan, you know, but didn't say anything about what I was doing. No, it's okay. You ain't got to say sorry. I'm just going to see if anybody keeps on pushing, because I'm going to get rid of your ass if you do. I'm done. I've got plenty of superiors on my channel. I don't need anybody to fuck with me. I really don't. I don't need none of y'all. You need me, though. Because who the fuck else is going to get out here except for a handful of other channels and bust their ass and sacrifice everything they've got, everything, not just in their car or their gas or their finances or freezing their butt off on the hill or sweating, getting chewed up by mosquitoes. It's the targets that we have on our backs by the CIA, Google, the FBI, whatever other institutions that hate the frontliners, the Matrix, CERN, the time manipulation. You know, our timelines get jacked. And it is stressful. Thank you, Black Apple Art. I'm glad you do. I'm glad somebody does. But I don't need the shitty people. I really don't. Or the self-righteous people. I really don't. You know, you got Hush Puppy and Angry Catfish and other people, you know, their forte is more so on their computers and other people who check out webcams. But the frontliner is a rare fucking breed, y'all. You know, we sacrifice and give of ourselves in ways that you cannot imagine. We put ourselves out there in a way that is, you're just exposing yourself. You're exposing your home, your family. You know, you tell pretty much everything about yourself. I mean, again, it's not like I, you know, didn't sit around sometimes just, you know, obviously kind of inebriated and kind of making a fool of myself. But, you know, sometimes we make mistakes, y'all. But I digress, and I ask again, who in the world would think that I would go to a hospital with the help of the police to get my car fixed and have a safe place to stay hundreds of miles away from home in northern Ohio, not even in Michigan yet, with a busted tire from a pothole in the highway? I got trolled twice today, and then I got Karen'd by Karen Mitchell. I hope she don't show her face. I don't care. Are you lying, Seven? You said that it was going to be on Saturday. Well, it's tomorrow, bitch. The lady got the date wrong, so I got it wrong, but then I got the correct piece of paper, and it's tomorrow. Take a fucking video.
I prayed a lot to God during this time.